I'm Dr SCL. I'm a dad, a chiropractor, and the translator you didn't know you needed in this, the first year of parenting. This is Decoded, the first year, the podcast that turns baby brain confusion, mum burnout, and milestone panic into clarity you can actually use. Let's make sense of the chaos by decoding it together. Hey, welcome back to Decoded, the first year. I'm Dr SCL, chiropractor, dad, nervous system decoder. And this episode is for every parent who's Googled, "Is this normal?" at 2 a.m. while bouncing a baby who should be very, very much asleep. So let's just say it straight from the get-go. Sleep in the first 6 months is wild. It's unpredictable, it can be broken, and it often feels like your baby didn't get the memo on all those settling techniques that you keep reading about. But what if your baby's sleep isn't broken? What if it's a clue? Today, I want to reframe baby sleep as more than a routine or habit and show you how it's often a nervous system signal. Now, we often think of sleep as a behavior, something that babies should just learn. But the truth is, sleep is regulated by your nervous system, which means if your baby is overstimulated, uncomfortable, or stuck in fight-flight mode, they can't settle. They can't stay asleep. They can't transition smoothly between sleep cycles. Not because you haven't trained them, but because their brain and nervous system simply, literally will not let them. So what I hear every day in the office is, my baby will only sleep when they're moving or on me. Or I'll hear they wake every 20 minutes after being put down regularly. Or they flinch and startle themselves asleep. Or they are grunting, squirming, crying constantly. Or they will only sleep upright, maybe in a pram, a carrier, or a car seat. Now, none of these make you a bad parent, and none of them mean your baby's sleep is just behavioural. They're clear signs that the nervous system is overloaded or that tension is making them feel unsafe. So here's what I see that lays behind most sleep issues, particularly in babies under 6 months. Number one will be some form of spinal tension, most commonly in the upper neck, sometimes the shoulder or the lower back. Retained startle reflex, the Moro reflex that keeps firing during transitions, is another common reason. They'll have some fight or flight dominance. That's the nervous system that can't switch into a parasympathetic mode, which equals rest and digest, which is a pure reflection of perceived safety. They'll have some form of discomfort when they're laying flat. More often than not, this is due to upper neck or even cranial pressures. The whole sleeping on the back being safe thing has been debunked many times over and is actually one of the greatest contributors to something we call plagiocephaly. Stay tuned for another episode on that topic. Or finally, you've got the overstimulated baby. Too much input, not enough integration, and you get a baby who's just simply wound up. Again, none of these mean that your baby is broken. It just means that their system needs support in order to feel safe enough to be able to calmly switch off. So when a baby comes in to see me and the first thing that mum is talking to me about is sleep, what I'm going to assess will be their spinal movement, especially that upper neck or particularly the sacrum, the tailbone. I'm going to be assessing, as we have discussed many times before, a lot of those primitive reflexes. A common one will be the Moro reflex. Now that will be commonly tied into the topic of swaddling. Again, stay tuned for another episode on that. We're going to look at their generalized tones and posture, In other words, if a baby is too strong early in life, it is commonly an indication of pain and discomfort, not true strength. And we're going to ultimately look at how regulated their little nervous system is. Can they settle easily when they're undisturbed? We're not adjusting them for sleep. We're aiming to support their little nervous system so that sleep can happen naturally without being forced. So, if sleep is a nightmare for you right now, please know you're not alone. But also, ask yourself, what is your baby doing? And I promise you, they're not trying to make your life harder. They're asking you for help in the only way they know how. When the nervous system calms down, feeding gets easier, movement gets smoother, and sleep starts to feel safe once more. Now, if this episode made you feel seen, please send it to a friend who's stuck in that it's just a phase. And if you want to know what your baby's nervous system is actually doing, please send me a DM and I'm more than happy to send you a copy of my baby milestone decoder. This is Decoded, the first year. Dr SCL, out. Thanks for listening to Decoded, the first year, where we translate the mess of early parenting into something that actually makes sense. Be sure to share this episode with a friend, a partner, or a mum that you know who is quietly struggling through the noise and secretly Googling every milestone. If you want to hear more decoding, follow @Mount Hawthorne Chiropractic on the socials. Let's keep decoding the chaos. No mansplaining, no pressure, no judgment, just clarity when you need it most. Please note, this podcast isn't medical advice. It's just smart strategies from a Gonstead chiropractor, a dad, and someone who's been in the room with hundreds of mums trying to make sense of their baby's development, their own postpartum recovery, and the constant noise that comes with modern parenting. Always chat with your health team for specific care.